Welcome to the Alternative Acoustic Podcast. I'm Chris of the Chris Woods Groove Orchestra, and this podcast is brought to you by Ibanez UK. In this episode, I chat with Stuart Ryan. Now, Stuart is a real legend in the acoustic guitar playing and fingerstyle world, both as an artist and as an educator. So many modern acoustic fingerstyle players have been inspired by his artistry and compositions and arrangements, or in fact, by his lessons within wider teaching, or of course, in his iconic work in guitar magazines, and frankly, some of his tab books, which are just absolutely perfect. Now, within the episode, I think the fact that Stuart is a fantastic educator really comes across, because the tips and tricks and the musical information that he is sharing is just done so brilliantly and clearly, which made it very, very easy for me to create an accompanying lesson with this episode, which is something from now on I'll be doing with each episode. A lesson that has been inspired by the conversation and the artist that I'm chatting with. Stuart talked about the Campenella technique and using open strings, or making open strings do the work for you, as I think he phrased it for me. And I've brought that into an accompanying lesson. If you head to alternativeacousticpodcast.com, you will find the lesson there. It's for free. There is a short video and there is a tab as well. Now, I found the conversation super inspiring to have, and actually I found it really inspiring creating the lesson based off these wonderful things that Stuart shared. So I really hope that you get the opportunity to enjoy and be inspired by this conversation and the lesson. I realise so much more with my time elsewhere. Yeah, exactly. But it makes me deeply sad that there's not so many opportunities.
I mean, that's the thing for the people that ran these things, like yourself. You know, it was very much a labour of love, and acoustic guitar is still a small scene. It's funny, really. I mean, you know, the change in the acoustic guitar world over here kind of came when Tommy first started coming over in 2000, 2001. All of a sudden, it shifted from being acoustic guitar played solo in folk clubs, and Tommy made it, you know, a viable thing. You know, guys like Tommy and Eric Roach made it a viable prospect to take out into larger concert halls, really. Mm-hmm. And so for a while, there was that explosion of it, and that explosion of interest. But of course, you know, things do shift, you know, tastes shift as well, and you kind of have to move with them, I guess. You know, it's just the nature of it. You know, you look at, I always find the history of Abbey Road recording studios really interesting, because, you know, that went from being a place that was, you know, heavily classically orientated, early film scores, and then all those people, you know, they ended up out of work when it became a place for the Beatles to record, you know, and that was a shift as well. So there's always been these seismic shifts in music. You know, Napster emerges at the end of the 90s and people stop selling music. So, you know, you just got to always roll and change with things, basically.
What about guitar mags?
Yeah, guitar mags. I mean,
because I proper grew up on that, man. I really, you know, and you were
me too.
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I grew up on the American ones, so, you know, from like 1990 onwards, I grew up on Guitar World and Guitar for the Practicing Musician, which were great. Not the English ones. I didn't really read. I never really read guitarists and guitar techniques and stuff like that. Oh. And then I started writing the guitar techniques in 2003, I think it was. Oh. And so, yeah, you know, that was
2003. How old are you, Stuart?
49. I'm
49. Wow.
Yeah. Maybe people think I'm a bit younger than I am, but yeah, I'm very nearly 50. So 2003-04, I started with GT, and then that ran for.
But you were pretty young. I'm very bad at maths, so maybe you can help me. But you were pretty young. I was
about 25, 26 when I got going with all of this.
Did you feel proper excited to be doing that at that time?
Oh yeah, because, you know, one of my ambitions had always been to write for one of the mags, and so when that came along, it's like, oh man, this is a box ticked for me, and this is great, you know. And it was, you know, it's income. Don't get me wrong, of course, it was a job, you know, it's great. You it's a freelance thing, but it's a column, it's a job, and it led to certain things. I guess you always there's a part of you that always assumes those things will lead to bigger things, and in some ways they don't. You always think Sting is going to read my column on cascading open scales, and then the next thing I'll be on a world tour. That's what you think when you're 26. Anyway, I'm half joking, obviously, but it was interesting. I loved that gig, but I mean, the thing is, it was like a learning curve for me as well, because I had to learn how to do those things each month. They just say, make it sound like Bert Jansch, make it sound like Lindsey Buckingham, make it sound like Tommy, So each month.
Well, were you always doing it in the style of acoustic?
Not always. Not always. Sometimes they'd say, can you do some original pieces? Other times it would be transcribed things. I mean, some of the hardest things I've done musically have been recording and working for publishing companies, because it's note for note,
Right.
There's that that Fleetwood Mac tune, Big Love, and recording that note for note was like, man, this is killing me. This is killing me. And back then, this is in the days when most of us still weren't using things like Logic. We were using like hard disk recorders. So, you had a monochrome screen that was that big, and you'd have to try and do some edits on basically what was a straight line waveform, which would occasionally go like that. And you'd be like, where's that mistake? I'll try and drop in there. So, it's just a lot easier these days. But yeah, so the mags were great. The mags were really cool.
Well, but I think that in the style of thing is particularly interesting, because did I explain in the email that I'm going to do it in the style of Stuart Ryan after this?
No.
Did I not? Are you happy with that?
I pity you. Of course, I'd love to hear it. Of course, I'd love to hear it. I don't think anyone's ever done that. So,
I'm really excited to do it, man. Because cool. I think you're. Well, I don't want to blow too much smoke up your ass, because I don't want to make you feel slightly sort of uncomfortable. But I just, I'd really look forward to it, because your playing is so magical. And are you interested?
That's a nice word.
Yeah, thank you. Well, thank you for the compliment. But stop it now. You don't. But it's really magical. It's really. I think when I first sort of experienced your playing, I recognised the cleanness and the clarity, and I was inspired by that. Also slightly pissed off, probably. Do you know what I mean? Like, but then I think what I now recognise as what I really love, and I learnt your Black is the Colour from your iconic fingerstyle book.
Sure. I did 3 of those.
I mean, that arrangement is just magical. And Go on.
That came about because Mike Dawes said, I'd like to hear you do that.
An arrangement of that tune?
Yeah, arrangement of that tune. I can't remember why he said that specifically, a long, long time ago. And I've always loved it, and I was really familiar with the Cara Dillon version, actually. I think it's the Dubliners that maybe did, like a really famous one. But I really like the Cara Dillon version because she kind of brought a darkness to it. And so I sort of started it from there, and that's just piano and voice on that one. And so, yeah. I don't know, I mean...
Let me continue to massage your ego slightly.
Please do. You need it.
Because it was one of the very few pieces that I've ever learned beginning to end. Because I'm just inherently lazy. I tend to learn.
No, it's a hard thing. I went through a phase of learning Tommy, Martin Simpson, Eric Roach, learning those pieces absolutely note for note, and I enjoyed it. There were 2 things I realised. Firstly, memorising that stuff is hard. And secondly, it's like wearing someone else's slippers. When you get to a certain level playing-wise, it's actually quite hard to play other people's stuff note for note because it just doesn't quite feel right. If you're in the classical world, then obviously you're always playing repertoire, but in the steel string world, I always think, it's very hard to kind of keep yourself out of it. And inevitably, it's like, the more you play, and I'm sure you feel this, the longer you play, the more you learn, the more it becomes like a speaking voice. And so for you to start changing your speaking voice, your enunciations, your pitch, takes work and doesn't feel quite natural. And to an extent, playing other people's music can feel like that. Not necessarily, but, it can. And then there are pieces where you go, these things fall under the fingers. I mean, I used to love Eric's pieces. Eric's pieces were so well written, but really hard. Because, there's a time when you think hard stuff is fast stuff. And, you kind of grow out of that. And Eric's stuff was nuanced, but it always had enormous stretches. Eric could do huge stretches. So you'd be playing these things and going, how on earth? And I remember he asked that I play at his funeral, which was very sad.
Oh, God.
Back in, I think, 2005, this was. And he wanted me to play his piece with these hands. And it's actually a really hard piece. And there's one stretch in it where I can't do it. I remember performing it.
I mean, that has to be the toughest acoustic guitar gig ever.
It's very hard because the audience was obviously Gordon Giltrap, Martin Taylor, Clive Carroll, loads of those people. And it's a terribly sad situation. And you can't.
You're playing his pitch. Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah, I mean that was I never really got nervous in playing situations, but that was like, oh man, I'm properly terrified.
God, yeah.
So that was difficult, and I got through it. I didn't.
You didn't balls it up.
No, I know. I was terrified that I would balls it up and I mean, and that was just like a tiny, tiny part of a very sad day. But it was an honour. But I absolutely rinsed that piece. I played it so many times to make it second nature. And so that's the thing you have to do. If you are doing other people's music, you just have to play it. And always, I think, find something of yourself in it. That could be a chord voicing you slightly change. It could be a tempo thing you do. But you have to try and inject something. Otherwise, you just feel like, I'm doing this other person's thing and it doesn't feel
Do you think
natural enough.
So presuming you had a close relationship with Eric Roche.
Oh, yeah, we were friends, yeah.
So do you think that partly that personal relationship, but also having to learn his music so intrinsically, do you think that put some of his voice into your playing, do you think?
Possibly, a little bit, but I'd been playing for so long by then that it was more kind of extracting certain things. Chords, okay. I think, was the thing I took from Eric, how he heard and voiced chords. It's like, this
Can you
is
tell
really
me about that? Can you show me that?
Well, yeah, I mean, really with Eric, it was a case of, Dadgad for Eric went way beyond the whole, I'll play a bass line with a single string melody on the top. Right. And it was more like a pianistic thing, more like a jazz thing for Eric. He knew chords in Dadgad, like Pierre Bensoussan does. These guys play Dadgad like an alternate tuning. Uh-huh. So you don't hear the same cliches. You hear textures and colours that you wouldn't normally hear many other people play. Because Eric's big thing was, Dadgad in B flat. So he liked doing things like arranging Somewhere over the Rainbow in Dadgad in B flat. Things that people wouldn't normally do, because everyone jumps in Dadgad and plays the same big D chords and goes, oh, wow.
Okay, so not using the open string so much, essentially.
No, exactly. Just finding voicings, that were far more challenging, not those same set of voicings. Because Dadgad's a really funny one. Dadgad is like that gateway to altered tuning that everybody discovers at some point, and then everybody thinks they're playing something new. And then they're kind of like playing variations on every Dadgad theme that everybody's ever played. That da 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 da. Everyone's like pulled into 6/8 straight away. And I see it all the time. We see older and younger players like, here's my new composition in Dadgad, and you're like, okay, I've kind of heard that before. But that's part of the magic of Dadgad. It's that journey of, oh wow, and it kind of comes back to learning other people's music, doesn't it? It's like if you learn other people's music, then you kind of see those things. If you don't, then you end up playing the same things in Dadgad that everybody else does. It's a sort of a poison chalice, I think, that kind of thing. Altered tunings in general. What
do you think are your? I'm fascinated to know, even if you're going to answer this, you might just flat out say no. What are your little idiosyncrasies and Stuart Ryan voices, bearing in mind I'm going to do the Stuart Ryan style file in a minute. What do you think no.
Well, in standard,
show me please.
So in standard, it's obviously the colour of ninths, all these kind of, I don't know if you can see this, open string chords, seconds, ninths. So I was always into kind of the rich chord voicings thing for me, really. So it is like, why play a major chord when you can add a 9th or an 11th or a 13th to it and get some colour?
Can you describe a tiny bit of the fingering of a couple of those, just for someone who goes,
So it's amazing, I want to do that.
Yeah, everything starts with a triad for me. I mean, everything starts with a triad, root, third, fifth, and then you can manipulate the chord from there. So the problem with guitar is we only have 6 strings, and really you only ever want to play 4. Well, I mean, sorry, I should qualify that. If you're playing with other people, you only want to play about 4. Because I've been told off by piano players and Hammond organ players more times than I care to remember.
You don't want to listen to them, man.
Oh no, I love playing with those players, but it's a totally different discipline because you can't do your guitarist things. That really when you're with a piano player is that. It's never that or that. So for me, so I take a triad, so I'll describe it, like a root position A major triad, root, third, fifth. So I'm on the D, G, B strings, frets 7, 6, 5, A, C sharp, E. So the real thing for me is I like fourths. So I've just dropped the fifth, got rid of the. I always get rid of the fifth, get rid of the fifth. Now I've got root, third, fourth, or root 3, 11, 1, 3, 11. So I think of all of it in terms of 1, 3, 5, 1, 3, 11, 1, 3, 7.
There's a lot of numbers there.
That's how I think about. Yeah, so I think about triad, about chords. So you can get. So there's a major 7. A, fret 7, C sharp, fret 6. Now go to fret 9 on the B string. There's your A major 7. Put your fifth on top, your ninth on top. Ooh. A major 9. So for me, it's like, the reason I do that, when I was about 12 or 13, my mum took me to a music shop and she said, you can have any book you want. So I went for the biggest book, which is the 1,000...
That's good 12-year-old mindset.
Oh,
I'll get the biggest one.
Yeah. I'm getting the biggest, most expensive thing whilst I can here. So it was the bumper book of picture chords. That's what it was called. It's like a telephone directory. Cool. And it was 1,000 photos just of a guy's fingers on frets. And it went everywhere from A to A add 9 to A sus. And I would memorize 5 of those shapes every night after school. And then you'd kind of turn the page and you'd get the next, 75 chord shapes in B flat. So then you're memorizing B flat 6, B flat major 7, B flat minor 7, flat 5. And then after a while I was like, I can't actually remember all this stuff. I better learn what's actually going on, otherwise I'll drive myself crazy. So I learned triads, and I learned that thing of what is a triad, root, third, fifth, and I'm a huge advocate for triads. Triads set you free. I was messing about with this. Check this out. This is really cool. So here's like a really shit sounding chord progression.
Love a shit progression.
It's very 60s. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you know triads. The whole nature of it changes completely. And that's the thing. It's like guitar is a curse because it's a visual shape-based instrument. So it's very easy to sort of just look at the thing, like I was doing with my picture chords book. But over time, you've got to treat it like a language and go, well, no, how do I assemble the stuff that I want to assemble? So that comes back to, your personality and character as a musician is how you assemble the stuff. I like spread triads. Those kind of sounds there where you're just opening up the chord a little bit more like a piano player would. I've learned some great stuff from piano players because that's what they do. Piano players can look at their instrument and just see it all and go, well, I want that bit, I want that bit, I want that bit and that bit. Whereas guitar players are like, how many, in the 60s they called them grips. How many grips do I know? How many shapes do I know? And you've got to get away from that. Did
they really? Grips? That's interesting.
That's what they called them, yeah. They called them grips. So John Lennon and Paul McCartney met and bonded over sharing grips,
right.
Which is really cool. It's like, show me that G. Oh, wow, what do you do for a C? Well, I do this. Oh, what? I haven't seen that one. Now, that's so cool, isn't it? And they're not worried about triads necessarily, but you know what I mean? It's like when you start thinking about chords and all that kind of thing, then, your playing changes quite.
Ibanez is the provider of alternative acoustic guitars. Whether you want a 7 or 8 string classical guitar, a black 7-string acoustic guitar, an acoustic with an electric neck, or one of the ever popular Todd or FRH electro nylon models, Ibanez has you covered. Ibanez also make a huge range of more traditional looking models packed full of unique features and modernisations available at every price point. Find out more about the whole range at Gear for Music.
Dramatically.
What about, though, and you mentioned at the beginning very briefly, you talked about, I think, cascading harmonics, but I think you do lots of, we can talk about harmonics, but there's always seems to be a lot of sort of cascading stuff, like Campenella. I know that.
It's all that sort of stuff.
Ukulele, I know that from. I didn't know if it was in the guitar, but I hear that a lot in what you do. In fact, in Black is the Colour, I think you start with this delay. I don't know.
I can't remember it. One thing I learned from Martin Taylor in terms of writing and particularly arranging is always write an intro. Always write an intro before you get into the piece, which is
interesting.
A very subtle but amazing piece of advice because it does a couple of things. It sets you up to play. It sets the audience up to hear something. So instead of going straight into the piece, straight into the arrangement, you're kind of exploring things and exploring a mood to begin with. If you think about it, it makes perfect sense. If you always go straight in to the melody, you're kind of giving it away instantly. Whereas if you kind of build, you kind of, the whole thing has more impact. You can kind of, you sort of wander and then bring in the melody. And there's that sudden recognition from an audience of, oh, I get this, I know it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, the cascading scales thing, I've always liked that sound. I think, I remember reading a column in about 93, probably getting back to guitar magazines. I think it's probably Jennifer Batten.
That's a long time to keep that piece of information there.
I've still got them. But yeah, Jennifer Batten did a column on open string scales.
Right.
And so that's very cool. And then obviously, you get the Chet Atkins approach.
What can you break down technically a little bit of what happens there?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a cool thing to practice because you're thinking in terms of notes rather than shapes. So let me see if I can get this.
Because it won't be visual, of course. So
of course. Let me walk you through it. So, the Chet Atkins thing is to take a standard G major scale. So I'm on fret 3 of the low E string, second finger. You play through the scale, frets 3 to 5, G, A, and then A string, B, C, D, frets 2, 3, 5. Same thing on the D string, frets 2, 4, 5. So
can you start again and go really slow?
Yeah.
Really so
standard box shape.
So you're starting on the G.
Yeah, so G A, B, C, D. That's it. But I haven't done the open strings yet. I'm just doing closed shapes.
I see. Sorry.
So standards, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp.
Okay,
which is
so just
something
a standard
we should all practice every
G
day.
Major.
Yeah, standard G major.
I like that. Everyone should practice that G major every day.
That's what Larry Carlton says.
What are you doing with your life?
What are you doing? Yeah, you're not living. You haven't lived until you've practiced the G major scale. No, Larry Carlton says play the G major scale. Play the major scale every day.
Before breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. But then you simply say, well, what can I replace with an open string in there? G, well, yeah, that's going to appear. A, that's going to appear. B, that's going to appear. C won't, but D will appear as an open string. E will appear as an open string, and then F sharp won't. So then you end up with this very cool non-linear way of playing because you're going to play a G, followed by an open A string. Now you're going to have to play a B followed by a C. So I'm stretching I've got the fourth finger on the seventh fret of the low E string, but at the same time my first finger on the third fret of the A string. There's the B to C, so G, A, B, C, D. And then you hear the B, C, D, the D is the open string.
That's a stretch, isn't it?
Well, that's the Eric thing. Eric stretched bigger than that, but... So you get that Campenella thing you're talking about, that beautiful cascading effect. And you could take that all the way.
And then did you go back to the seventh on the A?
Well, you could. I mean, I'd take it all the way across. The Chet Atkins thing would be to carry on G, A, B, C, open D string. Then you get fret 7 of the A string, which is your E. F sharp is on fret 4 of the D string. And then you get that open G string. So there's that octave, that one octave scale. You can carry on with it. But the idea is to keep everything ringing. It's very, again, piano-like.
That's tasty. I like that. Because it makes sense on the ukulele because it's got the tuning thing. Yeah, exactly. But it sounds so beautiful on the guitar.
It's great on guitar. Really the trick then is you do that in all 12 keys. You do it in B flat. B flat would be, I haven't done B flat for a long time, but B flat would be B flat, C, D, F, B. Quite easy actually. I haven't done B flat for about 15 years. But the cool thing is, so you start hearing things like these close voice ninths, which is really nice. B flat C. So cascading scales are great, very big for Celtic music, because Celtic music, a lot of it was played on the harp anyway. So that you need that open string ringing sound if you're going to play the old O'Carolan pieces and stuff like that. Now, Dadgad lends itself to it, but it's also fun to try and get that sound into standard tuning as well. So cascading scales are a large part of the fingerstyle stuff for me. Feels the same as well.
All right, so for Stuart Ryan, we've got the cascading scales. We've got, what is it, chord-wise, we talked about nines, did we?
Lots of nines, which, you can hear those nines are coming from cascading scales. I'm playing a B flat on fret 6 of the E string. I'm playing a C, there's your 9, or interval of a second anyway, on fret 3 of the A string, followed by an open D string, the third. So you can hear that, that's that cut, rather than, root 3rd 5th B flat major. Doesn't have the colour to it. Root 2nd 3rd. So I always think about, that's kind of like seeing guitar in 3 dimensions. So if you sort of think 2 dimensions are just playing fretted notes on the neck, bring open strings in, you kind of bring that 3rd dimension of playing where the open string does the work for you. So it's really cool. It's a really cool thing to explore. Great on acoustic guitar. Less useful on electric guitar, depending on what you're doing, but...
I suppose it's because it's a sustain thing. Right?
Yeah, it's a ringing sound. You're kind of making the acoustic guitar more piano-like. You have that sustain of things ringing against each other. Beautiful. There's like most of an A natural minor scale, just played with lots of open strings.
Now, you looking at your right hand, which is actually the thing that I was going to ask about next, because for me, that's what I always identify as the voice, if you like.
Yeah, big time, yeah.
I think, from a teaching perspective, it's that use your right hand however you want, because it'll create, your sort of your voice, but with your left hand,
big time.
Fret it logically, because it's not going to change the sound. So you might as well make your life easier. But you're playing that scale with thumb and index. Do you have like a system for when you're sort of switching between arpeggio playing when you're more classical and you sort of have a pimmer sort of thing, and then you switch into like country dude, and all of a sudden it's thumb and two, or what?
Yeah, big time. Big time. I mean, that's the part of the challenge with the right hand is there are so many different approaches. I think getting back to the Chet Atkins thing, the kind of the Nashville American thing is that heavy reliance on PIM, the Jerry Reed thing as well, PIM. We sort of learn PIMA. And so a lot of people fall apart because they try and play things IMA, which are far better served PIM. But they don't think about taking the thumb down to the higher strings.
And do you say that because but where the accent is there is played with the thumb better, sort of
speed accents. So if you're doing like a banjo roll, so to walk everyone through that, so that's an A7 chord. So that's my fourth finger on the sixth fret of the G strings. That's the third. I've got my third finger on the fifth fret of the B string. So I've got the fifth, and then the flat seventh is on the top. So it's frets 6, 5, 3, and that's on the G, B, and E strings. 6, 5, 3. So your natural inclination is to go, well, these three fingers appear to live down here, my IMA fingers. So surely that pattern is going to be some sort of IMA, IMA, IMA. And if you had a bass note against it, yeah, sure. But if you're picking things, then that becomes a PIM. And it's banjos. G, that's what I'm looking for. Or picking them, PIM. Rather than IMA. Different tone as well. And you get fatigue a lot quicker in IMA than you do in PIM. So that's some things like that. It's just adjusting that right hand and thinking, well, my right hand doesn't have to play these patterns. If you think about it, in the classical world, they learn lots of different right hand positions and patterns, sometimes for tone, sometimes for practicality. Whereas steel string players, they get, I've seen this so many times, steel string players really get stuck in, my thumb lives on the bass strings and my IMA fingers live on the treble strings. It's like, well, the IMA can move up as well. When I was doing that. That's me using the thumb and the index finger, crossing the strings.
Do you think in some ways that is a hang-up from the culture of learning steel string guitar from a almost quasi-classical perspective, though? Here's your picking like this. Whereas because there's so many country pickers, isn't there, who the thumb and fingers are going up and down and moving around. And
I mean, the Travis thing is thumb and first finger, which is actually so much harder. I can't do it. I don't know how Mel Travis.
You're jumping to using a thumb pick, man, from being a non-thumb pick dude to going just...
I use the thumb pick. Yeah, I use the thumb pick quite a lot, yeah.
Do you really? Right, I didn't even realise that. But not so much in the delicate, introspective acoustic stuff though, right? Or is it sort of...
No. So I don't use the thumb pick for... I only use the thumb pick when I want the effect of the thumb pick. So if I'm playing that kind of stuff... Then I switch into using the thumb pick because I loved all the old blues guys like Mississippi John Hurt was a big influence for me. So my dad would just come home with CDs. Some days, he'd say, found a CD today, at a shop or a garage, and he'd go, "Who's Mississippi John Hurt?" Don't know. Listen to it and like it, and same with Django and stuff like that. So that was the cool thing back then. You discover people randomly like Mississippi John Hurt, and it wouldn't be like, oh, well, I'll go on YouTube or Spotify and consume everything they've ever done. You'd go, well, I've got one CD with 11 songs on. I better get to work, So you could focus a lot more, which is so much harder to do these days. So, you just hear something and go, what's going on there? And, of course, that was before you'd go online and go, I wonder if there's a transcription of this. You'd use your ears and... very different back then. Maybe, some ways better, some ways worse. For me, the result of learning in that way was always that I would emulate something rather than
copy because I couldn't copy it because I wouldn't be able to. I would just sort of try and make a similar sound. But what were the outcomes for you for doing?
I was note for note. I was note for note. A little bit OCD about it. So I'd learn Megadeth solos note for note, and it'd have to be note for note.
How old were you when you were doing that?
Both 12, 13, 14. And it'd have to be note for note. I mean, that wasn't like, I think I'll start reading some Megadeth today. That was slow. The same Joe Satriani stuff. But I had the tab books, so I wasn't using my ears so much on those things. I'd have the tab book and be like, right, I've got to learn the solo from Hangar 18, note for note. But they're cool projects, cool projects. And then, I don't learn things note for note now unless I have to, professionally. I don't really. I transcribe licks note for note. I like doing that, but I'd kind of, unless I have to do things note for note, I generally rather avoid it. I did a lot of recording work for a company recently, which is note for note, and that was, some of that was really hard.
What was that as a project? What were you trying to achieve?
His exam pieces.
Because you did the rock school thing, right?
I've done pretty much all of them over the years. But again, it's hard. This one was recording some Rodrigo Gabriela, and I actually couldn't do bits of it, right? Because I don't really do. You do the percussion thing, great.
Well, yeah, but I don't do the Gabriela strum.
It turns out I don't either.
I don't think many people do. Yeah.
And one of the bits was actually drumming. I'll clip the audio nicely, but one of them was actually drumming on the guitar body, and it's interesting. I said to the drummer in my band, how hard are triplet patterns on bongos, which is effectively what you're doing. He's like, they're a cinch. And I was like, what about at 131 BPM? He's like, yeah, it's fine. And he started doing it, and I was like, oh man, I really suck at that. And it was hard. I really struggled to get that right because it was, it was a written percussive part, I should add as well. So it wasn't even dubba, thumb, palm, thumb, dagga, dagga. It was actually 16th note triplets, but with a written rhythm and accents. And that nearly killed me. Thankfully I was recording, I've got a little studio. That's what I have here. So thankfully it was from home and it wasn't that.
But that was spliced up a bit, wasn't it, Stuart?
Yeah. You can't lie. There's a little bit of corrections there without a shadow of a doubt. And that was hard, that's the thing. The thing is, everybody's got fallibilities and some people are just really great at hiding them. I'm not going to say any names, but I know some players who are astonishing, but there are places where you could stop them in their tracks straight away. But they don't advertise the fact.
You mean things that they're crap at, basically?
Yeah.
Mate, yeah, for sure. Are you just talking about me? Is that because there's a lot that I'm crap at?
I'm a percussion dullard. It turns out, But then
you're good at most stuff, though, aren't you?
I could fake the percussion thing to a point, but I used to do a lot with guys like Thomas Lieb and John Gorman. You'd look at those guys and go, oh no, they are masters at this. And you yourself, you look at those guys and go, no, these guys are masters at that thing. I'm not even gonna do it. And I guess that's the professional thing, actually. So if guitar is something you do for fun, then you would look at that and go, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. Whereas professionally, you go, no, not my wheelhouse. He'll just hold me back.
Because you can't
own that.
Yeah, you're not going to be top of your game on that, and yeah.
I'm not top of my game on any of it, but there's points where you realise you'd be topper of the game at least, and that stuff is like, nah. Being around Eric, John, Thomas is like, no, I'm not going to go down that road. I can't. It just doesn't feel natural to me. So yeah, you find different things. But if it's something you do for fun, then yeah, do it. Own whatever you can. That's the luxury of saying I'll spend a year. I'm going to learn one of Chris's pieces, and it could take me a year to get it in place, but I'll do it.
Probably because the tab that I wrote was probably so bad that you'll have to...
It doesn't sound like Chris's piece yet. I've been here for 10 years. Don't understand it.
Sorry to everyone who's purchased one of my tabs. It's all right. I can say that because so few have. So it's
Well, that's the thing. That remember, it's a small world. Acoustic guitar. I think I think that the time you realise it's a small world is when you keep encountering the same people over and over again, don't you?
Yeah.
You know, you go to the festivals and it's like, oh, these people are here again, you know. So it is a small world. Bigger now, I guess. I guess it's bigger now, but
but it spans so many genres. I know. Well, with this podcast, it's been so exciting in thinking about who we're going to bring in, because I think in some ways the first episode was John, and I think in my head, I hadn't really had a huge amount of time to think about it when we started, but I was thinking, I suppose, alternative acoustic and thinking quite percussive and progressive.
Yeah.
But then over time, it's really gone, oh no, it's alternative acoustic because there are so many alternatives. There's
exactly,
you know, all around the globe, and then the genres within those continents, and it's more so than electric as well, right?
Yeah, electric's obviously a huge thing, but electric kind of compartmentalizes into bigger genres. So you can be a blues guitarist, but play a different style of blues, but you still exist within that huge blues world, rock, jazz, funk. You kind of get fewer specific niche labels, I guess, in electric guitar. You know, so if you play blues, you might be a swing, jump blues guitar player, but you exist within that blues world. Whereas with fingerstyle, you know, it kind of, you dig deeper down into niches like percussive fingerstyle guitar, Celtic fingerstyle guitar, solo fingerstyle jazz guitar, you know, so it really is digging down deep into a niche. And that's how you sort of, you know, constantly reduce your audience, basically. Find out, oh, okay, turns out, you know, 46 people around the world, like...
That'll be the title of this episode. Stuart Ryan, constantly reducing your audience.
Constantly reducing your audience. Yeah. That's what niches are, you know. You know, niches are funny things. On the one hand, a niche can reduce your audience. On the other hand, a niche can sustain you.
Yeah.
It's the 1,000 true followers thing, really, which is actually, I think, a lot harder to put into practice than all those books would make you think. But you know, there's a theory there, at least, anyway.
Do you spend a lot of on that? Do you spend a lot of time creating lessons still yourself through Stuart Ryan?
Not so much. I'm pretty busy live at the moment, you know, so that's kind of where a lot of the money is coming from, live and royalties.
Well, as a session dude, or as
actually live, playing live. I have quite a busy band, and we get around quite a lot, and that's modern country. So I mean, the thing is, you know, the thing with me is I've always jumped into pretty much any genre and quite happily worked within it. Okay. So I've always, beyond fingerstyle acoustic guitar, you know, kept myself going with everything from, you know, jazz trios to wedding bands to this thing, which is a modern country band. And it's kind of, you know, you run these things like a business, really. So, I mean, I don't do much solo fingerstyle stuff at all these days. You know, I did a nice gig with Adam Miller a couple of months ago.
Oh, he's great, really good fun. He's great. We had
a fantastic time. Cool dude, great player. We spent.
I totally need to have him on here. Actually,
he's great.
Well. He's got a really.
We spent 5 hours in each other's company, and then that was it. You know, but that's the cool thing about musicians is you can spend 5 hours in someone's company and feel like you've known them for 10 years. That's a great thing about music. You know, you don't have that. You know, when you meet normal people, it's like, where are you from? What do you do? Yeah. Oh, you work in, oh, right, okay, you're a hedge fund. Oh, right, okay, yeah. And you're from, oh, right, yeah. No, I know Aberystwyth. Yeah, you know, whereas musicians are straight into like, what are you playing? I said, Martin, custom shop. Oh, right, okay, what have you got? Oh, I've got Aladdin. Oh, I like those, yeah. Blah, blah, blah. And very quickly, you've known each other for years, you know. So that shared interest thing is really great, you know. I guess, you know, all manner of things get that, but so that's the cool thing.
But it's different though, man, isn't it? It's different. It's different that the shared experience that you've had is sort of but be it sort of a spiritual, transcendental experience.
Well, there's an emotional content to it,
or obsessive as well. Like you talking about playing your G major scale before breakfast, or you know, I think a lot of musicians.
Oh yeah,
get that. You know, when you say that to me, I'm like, yeah, I totally get that. That's because that would make me feel good.
It's definitely an introspective thing. I mean, I'm an only child, so I never had any pull from family life to do other things. It's, you know, if I want to practice guitar for 7 hours, I can do that. No one's going to bother me.
Oh, mate, I don't know if that's happy or sad.
That's how I spent my childhood. You know, you don't have brothers and sisters.
Play guitar, man. That's like
play guitar.
Yeah.
It's not like we've got to take your brother to football. It's like, I think I'll play my guitar all day. It's like, yeah, your mum and dad are like, yeah, enjoy yourself.
So, knock yourself out, Stuart. You can practice your scales.
See you at dinner time. Yeah. So I'd do 7-9 hours a day and loved it.
My God, really?
Yeah.
From about 12, you say, like.
I started about 11 or 12. I reckon by 14, I'd probably, I'd get home. I'd take my guitar to school. Did you do that? Take guitar to school?
Yeah, a bit. It's until I got kind of a relatively nice guitar, and then I was like, no, that's sort of staying at home.
Well, I used to get told off for taking my guitar to school.
Oh no!
So I used to have to hide it. I used to hide it around the school, and then play it at lunchtime, and then have to hide it behind lockers and behind doors, all manner of places.
God!
And then teachers would find it, be like, I told you not to bring that in. Be like, okay.
Why not? Playing your devil's music? What's the sort of...
Well,
what kind of school was this, Stuart? Was it...
Just a very academic school. Music didn't feature. So
that's so sad.
Yeah, well, I went back there for a school reunion last year, and now they've got an enormous music department. You can't help but feel a little bitter about these things. It's just a beautiful music department. So... yeah, but that was a long time ago.
But I actually feel better about that clarity in your playing that I described earlier. That was like, it's great to see, but actually that really irritates because you were obsessed by it from that.
Loved it. Loved it.
I definitely got that obsessive thing, but I think it came sort of more teenage years. But really doubling down on it. At that age must have been.
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. Loved it from pretty much, first stinging fingers. It's like, ooh, that's good. It's biting, but man, I like it. Yeah, day one really for me. Day one. How did you learn? Did you have a teacher? Did you teach yourself?
Largely myself. I did have a teacher a little bit at school, sort of 20-minute lessons that didn't have a huge effect. And I think at that time I wasn't still obsessed. Do you know what I mean? So it was just sort of there. And then something, I'm not sure what it was that happened, but it was just playing on my own, improvising. I had like a Zoom pedal with a little, like a couple of different drum beats on it.
Yep.
And I would put my headphones on and just improvise all through the night, Yeah. And
you make it your own. It's great.
That really took off, and and I always find that with music education as well, because of my own experience, you can see that it's like it has to come from you, doesn't it? It has that obsessive thing. No one can make that click.
Well, I think when you're at school, you've got a mate who's learning the violin and a mate who's learning the saxophone, and it drops off, because they don't really want to be learning the sax or the violin. It's just the parents had that idea. I don't think saxophone is cool. I love violin, but there's something about guitar which is, when you're a kid. Well, for me, it's like, wow, I can actually play the music I listen to, So you kind of get that way in rather than, right, we're going to learn, I don't know, some Brahms today. You're 12 and, I want to learn Paradise City, But then, it's a great way of learning things as well. Just whatever fires you up and keeps you going is the crucial thing.
Mm.
And you got to carry it through life. So you've always got to be finding new things, because the danger is, it gets stale. So it's heartbreaking when you meet people, and you go, you're still playing? Not so much these days. It's like, oh man. And I think we've probably both encountered people that, really got into it, had guitars made for them, the whole thing. Yeah. Go to workshops and gigs, and then you encounter them years later, like, you playing? It's like, oh no, I sold to such and such, I don't play anymore. And that's, I can't relate to that. I'm sure you can't relate to that, because guitar is like breathing for me. But I understand that there's other things they get into, photography, motorbikes, whatever. Everybody's got something. You just have to find it. What
do you do to keep it fresh?
Play guitar. What do I do? Well, Well, transcribing things. I like transcribing things. If I'm ever feeling too stale, then I'll say, right, I'm going to learn something from the player that will either push me or give me a new idea. Or I'm pretty quickly like you. I want to make that my own. But I was learning some Brent Mason licks a few days ago. It's like, I need some new country licks. I'll learn some more Brent and so that sort of stuff.
But you'll go and work it out yourself rather than go.
Oh yeah.
That seems slightly sadistic to me. Like,
I love that process. I love that process. It sounds like such
hard work. Like, but you really like that hard work.
But I like that. Yeah, like it's like finding the pieces of the puzzle. But I used to do it for the mags. Transcribe this. Like, okay, I'm going to transcribe this, and some of it would be very hard. It'd be fast forward, rewind. But whilst I had tab books in the early days, the thing you've got to remember is the tab book would come out 6 months to a year after the album. So you would sit down and work out as much as you could. Sometimes you just couldn't get it, but
most of the tab book would probably be wrong as well.
And often it would be wrong. I mean, I remember I had a guitar rival at school. There's a kid in the year above me called Fudge. I can't remember his real name, but his nickname was Fudge.
Have you met him since?
No. But he was, he's really good. And I remember the Metallica album came out, the Black Album, and he'd learned the solo to Enter Sandman over the weekend. That solo with the wah pedal. And we used to hang out in the music school. They didn't want us there, but we used to hang out in the kind of the foyer section. And I remember, I might have been playing my practice amp and my Squier. I remember he came along and it's like, oh, can I have a go? I remember he played the Enter Sandman solo note for note, staring at me the whole way. And I was like, you mother. He beat me to it. And stuff like that was great because right, I've got to up my game. And, I got him back on something else. I learned the Thunderstruck solo. I don't know. But so there's a cool, that competitive thing was quite useful actually.
I mean, that's fantastic. If I transferred this conversation over to the music education podcast with a music educator, or they would be talking about how deeply unhealthy that is and how it's like. I'm fully behind it, mate. That's like, what, you learn that? Oh, I'm going to play faster. I'm going to play.
Yeah, it was. It's like, right, I've got to, and while music doesn't or shouldn't have to be competitive, sometimes that helps to give you that kick of going, oh, I've got to work harder, And so, yeah, we did. And that carried on for years, me and him. We had that rivalry. But, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. I've got no idea whether he still plays now. I don't know. I'm going back, 35 years, but I hope he does. I don't know.
Secretly, you could.
He's probably a lawyer now or something like that, But he probably owns all the guitars he wants, to be honest. But
yeah, he probably manages hedge funds in Aberystwyth.
Yeah, buys 59 Les Pauls.
That's it.
But yeah, so that was useful. That was cool doing that. And there's a little group of us at school who kind of, pushed each other forward doing that kind of thing. Really, it's just a bit disconcerting the way he'd stare at you all the way through.
Yeah, I do get it though. I said I didn't get the hard work of wanting to transcribe something, but I do understand that obsession or hard work, the physical element of that, trying something over and over again.
Oh yeah,
I imagine I'm not a gym guy by any means. I've never actually been in one, but I can imagine that's that sort of it's that burn. You've really it's similar to that. Yeah, I've done 2 hours of going.
Yeah, I've dabbled with gyms, but I could never transfer my love of guitar to the love of the gym, unfortunately. And I guess it'd be great. It must be great if you love going to the gym. If you really love it.
But I reckon it probably is that sort of.
Yeah, it's just a different version of.
There's a bit of pain. There's some kind of enjoyment out of the struggle, but with the musical element, it's just challenge, isn't it? But then there's
an outcome.
The outcome is, rather than I feel strong, the outcome is, wow, I've created something beautiful, ultimately, or that sounds relatively cool.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. I mean, I still prefer picking up a guitar and playing my own stuff under my fingers, but you can't always do that. I mean, I don't work out fingerstyle guitar pieces anymore. I used to do a lot of transcribing. Martin Simpson, Antonio Forcioni, Martin Taylor, but I haven't done that for a very long time. Kind of because I've got nowhere to take it, So it's not like,
well, you're not going to go and perform it.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I think in the classical world, you spend a long time learning a piece because it's going to be performed. Whereas in fingerstyle, it's more like a personal journey, and you're not gonna take that out. So it becomes ultra personal, and then you look at it and go, "Can I input the time to do that?" So when I was younger, I'd learn entire complicated fingerstyle pieces, and some I could never get. Aerial boundaries, had a crack at that, just didn't fall under my fingers.
Okay,
that kind of thing.
So you let it go.
Yeah, let it go. Michael Hedges' style is so unique; it just didn't feel right.
Did you ever meet Michael Hedges yourself?
No, I'm not that old.
You're not that old.
I remember reading when he died. He died about 90 or 91.
Oh, did he? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Right. Okay. Because I
think so. It might have been a little bit later, but I remember reading about it in a guitar magazine.
Let's find out.
It could have been a bit later.
Because I know
it would have been later.
Amrit Sond, who you know,
I know Amrit. Yeah,
he
was
great. Talking about meeting Michael Hedges a lot.
It would be after. I reckon it's more like 94. Actually, Michael Hedges died. You tell me.
Did Michael Jackson? Not Michael Jackson. Michael Hedges.
Michael Jackson. I never met him either.
There we go. He died
even later.
97.
Yeah, 97. Yeah, 97. I remember reading about it. I remember reading about that. I would have been at university then. So I remember in 1991, they always had adverts with him in guitar magazines. But the problem is you couldn't hear Aerial Boundaries back then. There's no way to hear Aerial Boundaries.
What, because it just didn't get played on the radio or
didn't
whatever?
Get played. You're 14, you can't really afford to import a CD from the States. You don't even, back then it's like, how do you even order these things? You kind of, how do you order something from America in 1991? I think you had to send something off physically and then get something sent back to you. No, how do I even do this? So I didn't hear Aerial Boundaries until much, much later, and bought the tab book for that. But I know people that play that great. John and Thomas, they play that stuff. I'm like, oh no, I can't do that.
Was Eric Roche a big sort of
Eric played
for him and sort of
Eric played it. But I guess being around Eric, I was like, well, Eric owns that stuff, so I've got to find my thing, really.
Okay.
Not that I have a thing per se, but I have to.
Well, you do have a thing. I'm doing a Stuart Ryan style file, so you do have a thing.
True. I mean, all my music. I don't release music for guitar players anymore. All my music gets recorded for TV programs these days. That's where it's ended up. Yeah, I don't write music for guitar players now because that I don't know. I just find that world too small. I could spend days or weeks writing, recording, transcribing, your own pieces. Then you put them out into the wild and go, anybody. So I write for TV, and it gets played all the time, on TV. But
that's cool, man. That's really exciting.
It is and it isn't really. It's. I guess the first time you find out that something's been played on TV is exciting, and then it just becomes you look at the usage, you look at the royalty statements, and go, okay, that's pretty cool. Got played there, okay. But no one's going to listen to these programs and go, oh man, I bet that's Stuart Ryan in the background.
Well,
my mum always does.
To be fair, the Gardener's World theme tune was pretty influential on me, so that's...
Well, yeah. I mean, Gordon Giltrap's holiday theme was huge as well.
Yeah, of course.
That was massive. He did two of those. He did the BBC and ITV, and I remember those as a kid. They were really cool. But, I haven't done a title theme or anything like that. But, you get older and you kind of view it all differently anyway, I suppose.
How does, on a completely non-guitar question, is AI influencing that sort of sync library?
Yeah, unfortunately, dramatically and terribly. I did a session for a record label last year, which was a soul track. And
for TV or for
I don't even know what it was for. I think it was for release, but I can't remember what it's for. But basically, the whole thing. Pretty much the whole thing was AI apart from guitar, which I found out afterwards. So I was recording on it thinking it was, real, but it turned out it was all AI, and you wouldn't have known.
But they just wanted that real sort of sprinkling on top.
Exactly. Guitar is one of the last things that AI is not quite there with yet, but will be ultimately. I mean, the thing with guitar is there are so many textures to it that AI isn't quite there, but it will be. It will be. And, a lot of people probably can't see that train coming. So it's almost like the Industrial Revolution for musicians, unfortunately,
That's interesting. So it really is affecting you in that way then? You think it's taken some work? And
the label I write for are great, and they'd have no interest in AI. And then that goes out through a larger label. But the problem is the clients, so the people buying music, well, man, they're going to be like, what's the cheapest way of getting it to sound like, Ariana Grande or whatever. Yeah. So yes, it's affecting it enormously. Now, it's not quite there yet because, AI cannot create, it can emulate, and it does a very good job of that. But it's not got to the stage yet where you go, wow, AI has created an entirely new genre. But over time it probably will. Feed enough information in. And, the CEO of Fender was banging on about AI recently. It's like, that's not helpful.
What was he saying about it?
I can't remember what he was saying. He was basically, I can't remember exactly what he was saying, but he was very much in support of AI. And you're like, well, man, come on. But that's all. Look, there's always been a music business, hasn't there? There's always been a music business. And there's always been a conflict between the musicians, the creators, and the industry. And this is just the latest leg of that fight, really. It's going to carry on. Who knows where it'll end up? But
I wonder whether, bringing this conversation full circle to those guitar groups you were talking about, those guitar shows like the Sheehan's show and things like that were more sort of less, not that there's anything wrong with the big corporate shows as well, but they were more sort of homely and
great.
Had a grassroots sense, I suppose, is what I'm trying to aim at. But I do wonder whether that is it going to go more that way because of this, because people want something authentic. Because online, from an online perspective, man, there's just so much AI hate that is really, I mean, there's a recent thing with Daddario, right, that you might have seen.
I know.
And I mean, it's fascinating to watch that unfold. There's such strong feeling, but I just wonder at what point will we see those people, creating more real things for people to come to, or will we? Is it just going to wash over?
I mean, you've got to look at a string company and go, even to use some sort of element of AI in your product marketing is a bad idea. That's marketing 101. Really know your audience. And don't go engage them with something like that, I mean, AI is... What makes me laugh is when you see lots of concert posters, designers are really suffering from it. And you see concert posters, and it's like, man, this is so AI. They're always brown. I mean, here's a case in point. This is hilarious. So where we live outside a village, and we're kind of on one of the main routes for one of the RAF bases somewhere, flying enormous planes and jets and Chinooks over. Periodically, they come over low. And we had a village fete a couple of months back, and whoever was tasked with designing the poster obviously used AI. So there's like the manor house, a tray of cakes, some cows, some sort of women's institute, and a Chinook helicopter flying over the top of it all. I was like, okay,
amazing.
A designer would not do that. But if you type in the characteristics of where we live, AI is going to grab everything and go, I'll chuck in a Chinook helicopter. And so maybe musically it's a bit like that at the moment. It's a bit like, a custard shotgun, isn't it? But
should, Elsie from the Church Hall Committee be criticised for going, I've discovered how to use this AI to...
Elsie should go fuck herself, frankly, because it's a disgrace. Pay a designer 200 quid like you should be doing, Use your bloody Women's Institute funds or parish funds, whatever it is, and do it the right way. But there's the problem, In a nutshell, there's the problem.
My God, Stuart, that's just so funny. That's fantastic.
But that's the problem. Elsie goes, I'm not paying a designer, and that feeds down to everybody, doesn't it? It's like, I'm not paying a musician. We'll probably.
But I don't know if Elsie was ever going to pay a designer.
I don't think Elsie
but
was.
Maybe she was going to get like I don't know, someone in the like a kid in the village to like, maybe you could make the poster. Let's have a competition.
Maybe it was a kid in the village,
stuff like that.
And they
maybe he used AI.
But I think I think that's representative, unfortunately, of what AI does. Is that it does, it takes work from people. Arguably, we'll get to a point where a lot of people learn guitar online, obviously, and maybe we'll get to a point where they just have kind of avatars teaching guitar. Chris version 2.2, whatever, and then, that Rhett Shull.
I'd probably write my tabs a lot better.
What's that, sorry?
I'd probably transcribe my tabs a lot better.
AI tabs would be a mess, don't worry about that. But that guy, Rhett Shull, he got AI'd.
Who's that?
Oh, he's an American YouTube guy talking about games.
Oh, okay. Okay. And then they've done AI.
Someone AI'd him. It's like, oh man, okay. So you can't replicate the live experience. I guess that's the last bastion of all of it, really.
But it's obviously sort of happening, and for us, like, surely, I don't know, there's a shift from let's talk about magazines. There was magazines where you would get the work and you would transcribe the stuff, go in the magazine, you'd get paid. People that would go, I can go on YouTube, I don't need to do a John Mayer style file because there's a video on YouTube of John Mayer teaching me to do it.
The mags probably went beyond their shelf life. They probably had 4 years longer than they could have had. It's a shame. Obviously, you loved mags, I loved mags, but they're not there. And just it's a sign of the time.
Interestingly, I haven't seen another representation of that in a digital form. It doesn't seem to have happened so much. Do you know what I mean? It hasn't seemed to have shifted to like big blogs or like.
No, I think there's a couple of guys in the States that do courses that sell well. I mean, they're really more focused on electric guitar things, But yeah, that as a learning resource has kind of gone, and I think it's a shame because the mags were, things like GT were great because they gave people a monthly focus. They'd get the magazine and go, I've got to learn these things. Now you've got to self-curate, I guess. So there's a bit more hit and miss.
What do you mean?
Well, you've got to go, what's my learning pathway? What should I be doing? Instead of having a magazine saying, okay, learn this next.
I see.
Now you go, what do I do this month? Do I learn some scales? Do I learn how to play like Albert Lee? Or do I learn a John Mayer piece? I don't know. So I think a lot of people, that there's a structure. Because remember, a lot of people don't have guitar lessons. I think many people don't have guitar lessons. They just kind of dip into things. And you always feel like saying to people, look, you'll do a lot better at this if you have someone teaching you. But I think the vast majority of people don't. They'll either go, I'll watch some guy on YouTube, or I'll buy the mag. And now the mag's gone, it's probably more YouTube time. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I think my generation, or perhaps our generation, we're kind of similar bracket. We were probably the first people to learn to play in the style of and to be able to play licks like 100 in the style of Jimi Hendrix licks.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I did notice with younger people, maybe even this was sort of 5 years ago as well, where they were the first. It was the first time I was really noticing people being able to play something utterly insane, not being able to play GCD. Yeah. And it's like, it's because no one put you on which is quite interesting because the resulting thing that comes out is like, well, you don't have to learn GCD. It's just that we sort of have traditionally done that, but you went and learned a Polyphia song. Yeah, exactly. And now you're writing your own. Okay, cool, man. That's groovy. Go with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it is. Exactly. Polyphia being a good example. People can play that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it depends whether you think you need those foundations. Many people don't. Do
you think you need them, or
in some contexts, yes, in others, no. I mean, if you're going to start a band that sounds a bit like Polyphia and it's working for you, then it's working.
Yeah. Why bother?
If you want to do a studio thing or work with an artist or compose, then no, you need those foundations. So it's kind of. But then, the thing is, you kind of need that person that says, well, I think you should think about doing this, because it's a bit of a chance factor otherwise, I mean, Polyphia are a good example because everybody, for a time, wanted to sound like Polyphia. People played the Tim Henson stuff note for note. But you go, can you play anything else? I mean, I always, the other thing is, professionally, you realise that, in truth, the vast majority of the public don't want to hear Polyphia. and wouldn't know who they are. So if you're a guitar player and you pitch up at a situation where someone says, play me something, and you play Polyphia, and they go, but can you play anything by the Beatles? And you go, no, then you actually look a bit foolish, unfortunately. See, people don't really judge guitar players like guitar players judge guitar players. I think people typically judge guitar players kind of more like if they're a human jukebox. I think Tommy always worked so well because Tommy was able to play stuff that people knew with his unique spin on it. And that's why he exploded onto the scene, because people would go, oh my God, it's, Lady Madonna, but played on a guitar. Whereas a lot of guitar players never did that stuff. And so they play, and people go, I don't know what it is. There's everybody likes a familiarity.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I wonder if actually, and we're definitely moving over. No, we're not. We're still talking about guitar. I wonder if actually people interact slightly differently. I know, obviously, young people still have parties, but I do wonder
it is
if
different. I mean, I don't teach at a guitar school anymore, but when I did, there was a definite shift from people who started off, back in 2008, loving Stevie Ray Vaughan and then John Mayer, and then that stuff disappeared, and people didn't really have tastes. I don't mean taste, I mean tastes. They'd be like,
yeah, for sure. They might be really into Polyphia, but they might be really into, I don't know, some electronic thing or
what I found was guitar
thing.
players kind of disappeared from the equation, and people were far more into bands like Polyphia or indie bands, Bombay Bicycle Club and stuff like that, which are great. But the Guitar Hero thing of I want to play like Lukather, I want to play like SRV, I want to play like Mayer, did seem to shift.
Do you think that screwed the guitar mags a bit, because that whole thing was
I think
Guitar Legend
to some extent. Yeah, to some extent, I think,
because that was kind of always the joke, wasn't it? It was like, how many times can you put SLV or Eric Clapton?
It was always
come on, man.
Joe Bonamassa was on the joke about how many times can you put Bonamassa on the cover. I mean, the lowest ever selling copy of Guitar Techniques was when they put Phil Collins from Def Leppard on the front cover. So it's like, you wouldn't necessarily see that coming. You'd think should do all right. Put Hendrix on the cover, Clapton, SRV. So of course it's generational. Of course, you can't forget it's generational. As people get older, another generation comes through, and they're like, I don't like. Well, a friend of mine's got kids, and his son had a party, and then one of the kids there, these guys are like 14 or 15. One of the kids was wearing, I think he was wearing a Led Zeppelin t-shirt, and my friend just sort of said tongue in cheek, my friend being the dad, I think he said tongue in cheek, nice t-shirt. And the kid goes, oh, thanks. Have you heard Jimi Hendrix? He's really good. And my friend was like, I must check him out, So, but it's that thing. It's all shifted. So I don't know. I mean, look, who did people listen to 100 years ago? It's very hard to say who did people listen to 100 years ago. And so if you think about it, the 60s to a younger generation are more like the 30s to you and me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And there's just so much more choice as well in that sense of, if you hear, like, I remember hearing Hendrix for the first time and it being like, oh my God, I've never really heard that sort of textural expanse.
Yeah.
But I think now, if you heard Hendrix, I think some of the almost outlandish sounds, I think you're hearing so many different textures in the plethora of different musics that it's not so surprising. No. It's not so shocking.
No, I mean all those acts. Yeah, unfortunately, like Black Sabbath. I love Black Sabbath, but people hearing Black Sabbath these days would be like, oh, it's kind of soft in comparison to
it's totally
Sugar
soft,
or something like that. So
to call it heavy metal,
yeah, I know.
It's just like
rock.
Seems absurd.
Days. Yeah,
I remember a mutual friend of ours playing me a band that he was in the I think in the 60s, and recording of it.
Yeah.
And I was listening to it and I was like, wow, that's really great, man. That's really great. It's amazing to hear. And he said to me, what you got to remember, Chris, is when we were playing this, we hadn't heard Hendrix. We hadn't heard Zeppelin. And I was like, my God, that totally blows my mind, because you had not heard those textures.
Yeah.
And for us, for younger people now, it's just such a different experience to have all of these sonic sounds.
It's very diluted, unfortunately, because you can, I love meeting people of that age who tell you about when they were 18, 17, and they went to, the Crawdad Club or whatever in Sussex, and there was Hendrix or Clapton. It's like, wow, that must be mind-blowing. Whereas these days, it's all diluted. It's like, yeah, I heard those, heard whatever band, checked out on YouTube, it's on my Spotify playlist. It's all that wow factor. Maybe it's not there now. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I've got a friend who's, sort of very much on the fringes of that scene, and he told me a story which made me laugh so much. He was in a Cream covers band
Amazing.
Must have been the late 60s, and they got booked to play the Oxford University Ball, and they went on after Cream. So Cream played, and then he had to go and play the entire repertoire back to the audience. They got virtually booed off, obviously, but it's a very different scene these days. It's all changed. It's all changed. I mean, in some ways, guitar is back more than it's ever been before with the Nashville thing and the modern country thing. Guitar is on the radio again, so it's still very much alive. It's just the delivery and how you find it has changed. It's all just different now, I guess.
A huge thank you to Ibanez UK for making this conversation possible.